Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're looking for a way to speak English confidently and naturally, you're in the right place. Today we'll talk about easy and effective ways to improve your speaking skills so that you can communicate clearly and comfortably. By the end of this lesson, you'll have practical steps to follow that will help you speak more confidently. So let's get started. Imagine your speaking skills are like a bucket. When you speak, you want your words to flow smoothly, just like water filling a bucket. But sometimes there are blockages, things that stop your words from flowing. These blockages might be problems with vocabulary, grammar, or fluency. And just like a bucket, there could also be holes, deeper issues like impatience or not being open to feedback that can stop you from improving. The good news is that we can fix these blockages and holes. In this lesson, we'll focus on how to clear up these issues so that you can speak confidently and naturally. So let's look at the most common problems and how to solve them. First of all, let's talk about vocabulary. Vocabulary is the set of words we use when we speak. Having a good vocabulary is key to expressing your ideas clearly. But many people get stuck when they try to use difficult words or forget simple ones. This can create a vocabulary blockage. For example, imagine you're asked about your favorite hobby and you want to say something like, I enjoy painting because it helps me relax. But instead, you might try to use a big word like artistic or expressive and end up confusing the listener. While these words are fine, the simpler vocabulary in I enjoy painting works actually better in most cases because it's clear and easy to understand. So, how can you improve your vocabulary? One of the best ways is by reading and listening to things you enjoy. For instance, if you love watching movies, try watching them in English. Pay attention to the words and phrases the characters use. This will help you learn new vocabulary naturally. You could also listen to podcasts on topics you like. If you're interested in food, you could listen to a podcast about cooking in English. By exposing yourself to English in a fun way, you'll start picking up new words without feeling like you're studying. And remember, it's better to use simple, correct words than to try to sound impressive with complex ones. Next, let's talk about grammar. Grammar is like the set of rules that help you put words together to form sentences. Good grammar is important because it helps you communicate clearly. But many students worry about using difficult grammar, thinking it will make them sound more advanced. However, the best strategy is to keep it simple. For example, imagine you want to say, I have been studying English for 2 years. But instead, you might try to say, I had been studying English for 2 years before I moved to London. This is more complicated, and if you're not sure about the past perfect tense, it can lead to mistakes. In contrast, saying, I have studied English for 2 years is just simpler and as effective. One way to simplify grammar is to practice using basic sentence structures. Focus on creating short, clear sentences. For example, you might say, I live in London or I study English every day. These sentences are simple, but they are still correct and easy to understand. Over time, you'll start feeling more confident with grammar, Just remember, it's better to be simple and correct than to try using difficult grammar and risk making mistakes. Now let's focus on fluency. Fluency is the ability to speak smoothly without hesitation. But fluency isn't about speaking fast. It's about speaking clearly and naturally so the listener understands you. Many students think they need to speak quickly to sound fluent, but the truth is, it's more important to speak at a steady pace and be clear. For example, imagine I'm asked about my favorite holiday. I might say, I really enjoy Christmas because it's a time when my family gets together. We decorate the house and have a big dinner. Notice how I'm not rushing. I take my time and speak in full sentences. This is a sign of good fluency. One way to improve fluency is by practicing speaking about familiar topics. If you talk about your daily routine or your favorite hobby, you don't have to think too hard about what to say. You know the topic well, so your words flow more easily. Also, don't worry about making mistakes. It's normal to hesitate sometimes, but the more you practice, the less you will hesitate. Try to keep talking and focus on speaking clearly, not perfectly. When you speak, it's also important to talk about things that are relevant to the question. Don't worry about using complex ideas or impress the listener. Instead, focus on answering the question clearly. For example, if you're asked about a recent trip, instead of talking about something complicated like, I visited a historical landmark that had a significant impact on my understanding of ancient civilizations, you could simply say, I went to the beach last summer. I had a great time swimming and relaxing with my friends. This is a simple, clear answer that directly responds to the question. The key takeaway here is that content doesn't need to be complex to be effective. Listen to this once again. Content doesn't need to be complex to be effective. Stay on topic and make sure your answer is relevant to what's being asked. The listener wants to hear your ideas clearly, not your ability to use difficult vocabulary or ideas. Now let's talk about accents. Some students worry that their accent will affect their speaking ability, but the reality is what matters is clarity. The listener needs to understand you. So if you have an accent, that's completely okay. What's important is that you pronounce your words clearly. For example, let's say you have an accent and you want to say, I want to go to the store. As long as your pronunciation is clear, the listener will understand you. The goal is to communicate, not to get rid of your accent. If you're worried about clarity, practice speaking slowly and clearly. You can also ask a friend or teacher to listen and give you feedback. Remember, it's better to speak slowly and clearly than to rush and be hard to understand. Finally, let's talk about deeper issues, things that go beyond vocabulary, grammar, or fluency. Sometimes the students face problems like impatience, resistance to feedback, or the pressure to be perfect. These issues can stop you from improving, but they are fixable. For example, many students don't like getting feedback because they feel like it means they're not good enough. But feedback is important. It helps you see where you need to improve and it helps you get better. So don't be afraid of it, embrace it. Also, don't focus too much on perfection. Sometimes we get stuck because we want to say everything perfectly. But the goal of speaking is to communicate clearly. So don't stress about mistakes. It's okay to make them. Believe me, it's okay to make mistakes. Focus on your message, not on being perfect. By changing your mindset and accepting that mistakes are part of learning, you'll improve faster. Keep practicing, stay patient, and remember that improvement is a journey. To wrap up today's lesson, here's a quick summary of what we talked about. Improve your vocabulary by reading and listening to things you enjoy. Use simple grammar to make clear sentences. Build fluency by speaking about topics you're familiar with. Stay relevant to the question and don't try to impress with complex ideas. Your accent is fine as long as you speak clearly. And lastly, work on your mindset. Embrace feedback and be patient with yourself. These steps will help you speak more confidently and naturally in English. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this lesson, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. I'll be back very soon with more tips to help you speak more confidently. Until next time, keep practicing and happy speaking English!